Hello, my name is Jeffrey McRae, and I am the bassoon instructor at Colorado Mesa University. This lyrical etude in B minor will test your ability to play beautiful phrases in the tenor register of the bassoon. You will need to be proficient in reading tenor clef and familiar with the fingerings for the notes up to high A. If you're not yet comfortable with reading tenor clef, I don't recommend that you write in all of the note names, although that is sometimes necessary for students. Instead, I encourage you to write in only a few note names in key places, such as large melodic leaps or the beginning of a new line or phrase. If the melody then moves by step, try to read those notes by interval rather than relying on having written in every note name. At the prescribed tempo for this etude, you will probably end up counting this in 6 beats to the measure, with the 8th note representing the value of the beat. Even so, I prefer to feel this in 2 beats to the measure. Think 1 and 2 and rather than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Place a little bit more weight on the notes that occur on the big beat, or beats 1 and 4, if you're counting in 8th notes. This can help to achieve a very naturally sounding forward motion. Notice how this etude divides neatly into 4 4-bar phrases. I suggest breathing every 4 measures, which might be a bit challenging at this tempo. I recommend breaking the slur in measure 12 after the quarter note E. This allows the 3rd phrase, or measures 9 through 12, to end beautifully with the resolution of the trill. Bar 13 then begins with a pickup note, or the last note of measure 12. Without breaking the slur to breathe here, you will have to breathe somewhere in the middle of both the 3rd and the 4th phrases. It's possible to do it, but it's hard to make it sound natural. Be careful with the 32nd notes. They are not that fast at this tempo. The number one mistake that I hear students make when playing fast notes is that they rush through the very first note. Make sure the first note sounds cleanly before you move down the scale to play the remaining 32nd notes. The half-hole F sharp can be a problematic note on many bassoons. It tends to be sharp and it frequently cracks. Make sure that your half-hole is slightly more open for F sharp than it is for the G or the A flat in this range. You should also be aware that there are 2 fingerings available to you for this note, one that uses the right thumb and the other that uses the right pinky, and ideally you should be equally proficient with both of them. I generally prefer the pinky F sharp in this range of the bassoon because it is closer to being in tune on my instrument. You should spend some time playing each of these fingerings with a tuner to determine which is better in tune on your bassoon, and to figure out what you may need to do with your airspeed or the space inside your mouth and throat to get the note to being really in tune. On many bassoons, there is a substantial difference in the intonation between these 2 fingerings. There aren't a lot of technical passages in this etude that would dictate what fingerings you should use, but I recommend using the pinky or the front F sharp in measure 15. This may make the F sharp major triad a bit easier, as your thumb can prepare to get to the B flat key in plenty of time to play A sharp cleanly. Likewise, the high F sharp has multiple possible fingerings, and they each have their own intonation tendencies. It's worth spending some time to figure out what works best on your bassoon. If you're using a fingering that involves the half hole in the first finger of the left hand, make sure that you're using a sufficiently large opening, but also be sure to depress your whisper key. If that still doesn't work well for you, try leaving the first finger off completely, which is what I tend to do on this note. The last measure contains a slurred leap from the half-hole F sharp to the high F sharp. I recommend spending a significant amount of time practicing this interval slowly with a tuner. Try multiple fingerings for both notes.